Yeah. This is your boy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are locked in on another dose, a Monday dose of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter we win or we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I'm so grateful to be here with you guys. You understand how I'll give it up. I always start the show with gratitude. I always start the show with giving love. Always got to let you guys know where I'm at, man. And I got to be honest, I am in a tremendous mood. I feel blessed. I'm healthy. I got my wits about me. Family's doing pretty well. Everybody's healthy for the most part. You know, I can't really ask for anything more, and I'm able to kick it with you guys, the beautiful people out there in the atmosphere. This thing don't move without you guys. I mean that wholeheartedly. You know, a lot of people, they do the content, they get in, they get out. Nah, I got to let you guys know how much you mean to me. We're approaching 5,000 subscribers. And some may say, Tone, damn, only 5,000? You should have been there by now. You started your channel in, what, 2021 or something like that? 2022? Whenever you started, I thought you would have been way further than that. And look, sometimes, you know, you got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to walk before you can run, and you got to run before you can fly. Shout out to those Philadelphia Eagles flying high. And we've dedicated a lot of time to this channel over the past several months. We've dedicated a lot of time to this channel over the past few years, over the past few seasons. And I took about maybe 10 or 11 months off from Chalk It Up Sports because I needed to go away to figure out how to build this thing. A lot of you guys saw me on other platforms doing my thing. You guys saw me on Jacob Sports doing my thing. I wish them well. So I guess in essence, I didn't really go away, but I was giving you guys content from a different angle, from a different perspective. And I learned a lot working for that company. I learned a lot in my travels, and I made a ton of connections, and I learned what to do, and I learned also what not to do. And trust me, you guys, learning what not to do is just as important as learning what to do. But regardless, I brought what I figured out back to Chalk It Up Sports, and we came back stronger than ever. We came back stronger than ever. And I have no one else to thank but you guys, because y'all could have forsaken me. Y'all could have said, nah, Tone, we off you. Y'all could have said, nah, you are op. Keep that over there. But y'all welcome me back with open arms. Y'all wrapped your arms around me and say, you know what, Tone? We got you. We got you. Just keep giving us the content and we got you. You better not ever disappear again. Or it's a wrap. Or it's a wrap. So what kind of content creator, what kind of person would I be to leave y'all hanging? Never again. Never again. We are here. We are here to stay. Whatever iteration of Chalk It Up Sports comes now, then, and in the future, we're here. And we're going to continue to build this thing. Wherever my feet are, just know you guys help put me in that position. Wherever I get to, just know you guys put me in that position. And I love doing this with you guys. I love the atmosphere we've created, the ecosystem, the community we've created here. That means a lot, man. And shout out to my mother. Shout out to my mother, Carolyn Palmer. My OG, triple OG, Mom Dukes, yes. Invested a lot in me, a lot of time, a lot of money in me, you know, a lot of love. Shout out to my father as well. Shout out to my brother, my wife. Man, oh man, the people that really give me the strength to do them push-ups when they get a little hard. Got to give credit to those people who always have my back from the very beginning. And you guys are a part of that crew. Every single last one of you guys. Yes, you. Yes, I'm talking about you. Don't look to this. Don't look to the left. Yes, you. I'm talking about you. You helped me get here. You know who you are. So I got a lot of love for y'all, a lot of gratitude. I'm humbled. And let's keep building this thing. Again, we're almost at 5,000. We're not quite there yet. And tomorrow, Lord willing, we'll be there. A lot of people have been locking in on the content. A lot of people have been subscribing to the show. All of you guys have been hitting the like button. That like button. We got 44 people in here. 44 of you guys are holding it down. Please make sure you guys hit that like button before you get too comfortable. Before you take your shoes off, before you go hit the fridge and grab something to drink, please hit that like button. And maybe some of you guys don't have hands free. Maybe you guys are driving. Maybe one of you are making lunch for the kids. You know, maybe you're just taking it easy with your feet up, sipping a nice cup of sugar honey iced tea, whatever it may be. Maybe you cutting the grass. Maybe you folding laundry. You know, maybe you running errands. Maybe, just maybe, you're on a Zoom call with your job. And guess what? Your attention is very much divided. I know what that's like to be on that Zoom call and to be listening to a whole nother thing while I'm doing that. And then when they call your name, hey, yes, Antonio DeShields here. Yes, absolutely. So our numbers are looking great here. We're projected to sell this amount, and we're able to fill every unit over here. Yes. All right. Okay, thank you so much. Mute. Back to the Chalk It Up Sports Show. So I know the vibes. And some of y'all probably got me on the TV, the big screen, the 52 to 70 inch, the 80. Y'all probably got me on the curve joint. You know what I mean? The curve TV. I can't take it for granted, man. Y'all hold me down, and I truly appreciate you guys for doing this. So let's keep this energy going. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are also subscribed to the show. Goes a long way. We're on the bigger things, greater things, man. We're going to have some fun like we always do. We're going to give truth. We're going to give our perspectives. We're going to give honesty. And most importantly, we're going to give energy. That's the type of time we on. We're going to give energy. Smash that like button. Y'all know the vibes. Y'all know your job. 23 likes and 56 people in here, 57 people in here. Y'all got to catch up. You got to catch up, but we're going to be here for a while. We got a special guest coming on at about 1 p.m. In about 18 minutes, we got a special guest coming on in about 18 minutes. So make sure you guys lock in for that. It's going to be really dope. It's going to be really awesome. Can't wait for you guys to lock in on that. It's going to be fun. But I want to get to some topics with you guys. You know, yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles had another practice or another day on the grass in training camp. They were there for about an hour and a half, just under 2 hours, something like that. They were there for, almost 2 hours. Pretty productive day. Before we get too deep into it, let's go over some of the injuries, right? As of right now, as far as people who are on the DNP or the did not practice list since yesterday, you have Oren Burks with the knee. He hasn't practiced since day one in training camp. 9 times out of 10, he doesn't make this roster. You have Grant Calcaterra, who's dealing with the shoulder. Grant Calcaterra is currently slotted as the tight end number 2. I'm not concerned about Grant Calcaterra. I think he'll be fine. Paris Campbell, the groin. This injury is going to force or leave Paris Campbell to face some repercussions. And what I mean by that is he's competing for the wide receiver 3 job. And as of right now, Johnny Wilson and Britton Covey are the front runners for that job. And that's not to say the Philadelphia Eagles aren't looking elsewhere, maybe towards free agency or a trade target. That doesn't mean they're not looking at that. But as of right now, as far as this roster is presently constructed, Johnny Wilson and Britton Covey are the front runners for that position. You take your pick at that point. CJ dealing with the shoulder, hasn't practiced since, I believe, last Monday or last Tuesday. But I think they're being precautious. I think they understand that CJ is very valuable to what they're trying to accomplish here. And they can't afford to not have him ready for week 1. And he's been on this team before. He knows his way around. He knows how to prepare. He's in the film study. He knows where he needs to be, things of that nature. So CJ, I'll be totally content if he doesn't play again until week 1. I'll be totally content with that. I just need him healthy. Cooper DeJean also still on the did not practice or the non-football injury list still because of the hamstring. He should be reaching the 3-week point sometime this week, and he should be able to get on the practice field at some point. If he doesn't touch the practice field at all, or we don't at least see him in that third preseason game, maybe the second preseason game is a bit overzealous, a little bit of a reach. But if we don't see Cooper DeJean in the third preseason game, then I'm going to become more concerned about that hamstring injury. Moving on to the other injuries, right? Those who were limited, still practice, but were limited. Mekhi Garner, safety. Now, Mekhi Garner, he transitioned from corner to safety. Obviously, the cornerback room is very crowded, and he's dealing with a hamstring. Like Cooper DeJean, that hamstring is very, very twitchy, very finicky. It's a hard thing to predict. It's a hard thing to manage. So the best thing to do is to always tread lightly with the hamstring. Yet, Mekhi Garner still practiced. So maybe his situation isn't as severe or wasn't as severe as Cooper DeJean. Or Cooper DeJean's value supersedes Mekhi Garner. And Mekhi Garner and that team looks at it like this. Hey, you better get out there and play. You need the reps. Whereas the Cooper DeJean, drafted in the second round, he's protected. So they want to protect that investment. Patrick Johnson, we all know Patrick Johnson, right? Saved that game on Friday. Strip sacking the quarterback, giving Jake Elliott another opportunity to kick the game-winning field goal. But Patrick Johnson's dealing with a lower leg contusion. That could just be a thigh bruise or a calf bruise, whatever it is. That can be anything. So he'll be fine. And then you got Brandon Smith, linebacker, who's dealing with a concussion, limited but still did some action today. Brandon Smith, not really someone we're paying attention to right now in terms of competing for a roster spot. Quite frankly, he's a camp body, maybe a practice squad player. All right. So that's our injury report. That's our most recent injury update. The Philadelphia Eagles today, they were in the weight room, got a lot of weight training done today, a lot of conditioning done. And then tomorrow, they're going to be practicing at the New England Patriots facility. So that should be exciting. But I want to revisit some notes from yesterday's training camp practice, if you guys don't mind. There were some things that stood out to me. And, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this thing. Trust and believe that. You guys saw the thumbnail. The competition is at an all-time high. The competition is continuing. Big bank take little bank. Bring your best, I bring my best. Whoever survives rules the day. And we're going to get into the Quinyon Mitchell, DeVonta Smith competition that took place. It was really exciting. Heard a lot about it. Read a lot about it. That's going to be something we get into pretty early in the show. But before we do so, I do want to tackle some depth chart notes, some notes about the first and second and third teams, right? Who played where yesterday, who got early reps, who got later reps, the rotations, things of that nature. I want to address that. And then we'll get into why you guys came here today. Once again, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys remain engaged in the content. By the way, you guys know what I do here. I do giveaways, right? We've been doing giveaways for the past 3 or 4 weeks. And a lot of people have won, right? We have 4 winners thus far. I got to give a shout out to our most recent winner and Thomas Adams, aka Bold Brew. Bold Brew's from Philadelphia, and his gift is quite frankly on the way. It might be there Tuesday or Wednesday, right? I haven't checked the tracking information recently, but I think it may be there Tuesday or Wednesday. Nonetheless, shout out to Bold Brew for being our 4th giveaway winner on the off season in training camp. And we're going to be doing this all throughout training camp. We're going to be doing this all throughout preseason, the regular season, the playoffs, the Super Bowl. And when I say that, a lot of people get a little nervous. They say, Tone, you're getting ahead of yourself. And I say, am I really? When I look at this Eagles team, am I really getting ahead of myself? I see a banner in our future. I see more jewelry in our future. I see more hardware in our future. Do you dig me? So shout out to my man Thomas Adams, aka Bold Brew from Philadelphia, for being our most recent giveaway winner. I also want to give a shout out to my previous giveaway winners. You guys know how I give it up here. I want to give a shout out to Jameer Adams. Jameer Adams is one of our recent giveaway winners. He won that Eagles cap right there that he's wearing right now. Shout out to Jameer Adams. He won that. Sorry if the Wi-Fi is a little janky for you guys. Hope it stabilizes in a little bit. But I got to give a shout out to Jameer Adams for being one of our giveaway winners. I also got to give a shout out to Keisha White. Keisha White is one of our giveaway winners as well. Keisha White, shout out to her. She won that Eagles ball cap right there. It looks real good. I know she's going to be rocking that throughout the season. You guys see the box right there. Chalk It Up Sports, TD2. You know, I mail out mine, but I'm doing everything. Me and the wifey, we doing everything, holding it down, building this thing. My dad, my mom, this is a well-oiled machine here. This is a family affair. So shout out to Jameer Adams. Shout out to Keisha White for winning this gift. And also I got to give a shout out to my man, Mark Johnson, the doctor with the Kelly Green snapback. Shout out to him. He won that from us, the Kelly Green snapback. Y'all see how he laced it? He wore it with the OG Kelly Green Eagles jersey, the green on white, however you like it. Tell me how you want it, however that you need it. You know how we doing it here. Shout out to my man Mark Johnson. Shout out to Jameer Adams, Keisha White, and Thomas Adams, a.k.a. Bold Brew. The show doesn't move without those guys. The show doesn't move without you guys, right? So make sure you guys stay locked in. All right. Donald Roan asks, is there anything on Sidney Brown? Sidney Brown is still on the PUP list, which means Sidney Brown will not play a football game until after the Eagles bye week. So the Eagles start the season weeks 1 through 4, and they have a week 5 bye week, meaning we won't see Sidney Brown remotely until week 6. So that's the situation on Sidney Brown. He's on the PUP list. All right. Now, let's get to the updated depth chart notes, right? So yesterday, Mekhi Becton still was getting the first team reps at right guard, and that says a lot. That says that Tyler Steen, although he did get hurt, he hasn't shown them enough for his position to be cemented as the first team right guard. So much so that Mekhi Becton came in, and Mekhi Becton hasn't given up the spot yet. We saw that in the preseason game. Mekhi Becton, he played significantly less snaps than Tyler Steen. And quite frankly, right guard is Mekhi Becton's job to lose. It's as simple as that. Johnny Wilson and Brenton Covey, they got most of the reps at wide receiver 3 yesterday afternoon. And you can tell the Philadelphia Eagles are beginning to hone in on their pool of wide receiver 3 candidates. You know, they're starting to lock in on certain guys. And the 2 guys that obviously stood out the most and provided value in that preseason game was Johnny Wilson and Brenton Covey. Brenton Covey runs very crisp routes. He's very precise. He gets decent separation as well. You can use him in a variety of ways. Obviously, he's valuable in the punt return game. We saw that. And then Johnny Wilson, although he had 1 catch in the game, you saw his value translate even to the running game. He was one of the best. He was one of the best blocking wide receivers in college football, and he's bringing that skill set. He's bringing that technique and discipline to the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's going to provide the Eagles with so much value, right? He's the kind of player that you want to take advantage of in the red zone, and he's going to give you a lot of protection in the blocking game, right? We saw him on those screens with Brenton Covey. So I think what the Philadelphia Eagles were trying to accomplish in that preseason game was how can we find a singular or a unique way to evaluate Brenton Covey and Johnny Wilson at the same time, maybe even on the same given play. You know what we do? We'll throw a bubble screen. We'll have Brenton Covey catch the ball. We'll have Johnny Wilson out there blocking. Then we can evaluate those guys in those unique situations, and we'll be able to really find out what their value is, right? And you were able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We found out Johnny Wilson's blocking is as advertised, and we found out Brenton Covey has taken his game to the next level. Still very early. They went up against second stringers. So we need to wait and see if Brenton Covey and Johnny Wilson can continue to stack the good reps, stack the days. I'm excited about what they've done so far. I like them as wide receiver 3 prospects, But if the Eagles go out and outsource for that wide receiver 3 position, I wouldn't be totally surprised. Johnny Wilson is young, yet still has value in the run game for sure. And in the red zone, Britton Covey, he's an older, younger player, if that makes sense. He got to the NFL a little later, spent a lot of time in college. I think he spent all 5 years in college. He's one of the older, younger players, if that makes sense. And Britton Covey's not a big guy. He's not really dynamic, but he does provide value in the punt return game. And he's a pretty precise route runner. He's pretty disciplined. So they have value in their own ways. But regardless, Johnny Wilson and Covey, they got most of the reps at wide receiver 3 yesterday, and Paris Campbell and John Ross. I think those guys are, quite frankly, on the way out. I just don't see a situation where the Philadelphia Eagles feel like they trust John Ross enough. He's not been creating enough separation. And then Paris Campbell, with the injury, tough break, man, because Paris Campbell was in the lead for that position. Paris Campbell was in the lead for that position, and it's crazy what injuries do, man. Set you back. All right. And then Devin White and Zach Bond, they're still the first team linebackers. They got the bulk of the reps at first team linebacker yesterday. But Nakobe Dean, with his performance in that preseason game, Nakobe Dean earned himself a bulk or a significant amount of first team reps. Nakobe Dean earned himself more first team reps due to his performance in that preseason game. And remember, Vic Fangio said, he had a strong first couple days, then tailed off, and he had a setback after the open practice. And then when game time came, when it was put up or shut up time, Nakobe Dean came out, played a very solid game next to Jeremiah Trotter. Both those players were able to elevate their standing or elevate their stock within the organization, especially with Vic Fangio. And due to that, Nakobe Dean was getting more opportunities with the first team after that promising preseason game. And that begs the question, can he get back into Vic Fangio's good graces? I say it's possible. Still a wait and see. Because of what we saw in that game, it gave me reason to be optimistic. And you guys saw me be very honest, be very candid about Nakobe Dean standing with me. And I gave him a ton of respect, gave him a ton of reverence, didn't disrespect him at all. I was just honest about what I was seeing, what I was hearing, what we were reading, his track record. I was just calling it how I saw it. Now, he had a solid game. Time for him to stack that. Build on that. Earn the trust of your DC. And then we'll move right along. And then we'll find out where Jeremiah Trotter is going forward. He had a really good game. I think Jeremiah Trotter really elevated his stock as well. Moving on, Isaiah Rodgers yesterday, still getting most of the first team cornerback 2 reps, but Kelee Ringo's pushing him. Kelee Ringo was mixed in. Kelee Ringo had a strong preseason game, so I don't see any reason why Kelee Ringo shouldn't be strongly considered for that position. On top of that, Quinyon Mitchell still getting the first team nickel reps primarily, while Avonte Maddox gets starting safety reps with Reed Blankenship, and James Bradbury was being mixed into those safety reps as well. I think the Philadelphia Eagles pretty much made up their mind that they want Quinyon Mitchell in the nickel for now, because they want to be able to get the best combination of talent on the football field. That's the challenge right now. The Cooper DeJean injury set them back a little bit in terms of being able to evaluate the group as a whole, but it also gave them an opportunity to see what Quinyon Mitchell can do in the slot more consistently. And Quinyon Mitchell was not only on the outside during that preseason game, he was also on the inside. So they've been moving Quinyon Mitchell around, and he's been responding pretty well to the material he's been given. But I think when the season starts, we're going to see Quinyon Mitchell in the slot. You're going to see Darius Slay on one side, and you're either going to see Isaiah Rodgers or Kelee Ringo on the opposite side, right? And then there's a chance that safety position next to CJ could it be Reed Blankenship? Could it be Avonte Maddox? Could it be James Bradbury? It's a ton of competition right now, but I think Reed Blankenship, as it stands right now, is the guy in pole position. And then I want to get to another point. The Philadelphia Eagles did sign former Broncos safety Kaden Sterns, right? And please stick with me, you guys. I'm going to get to your comments, and we're going to address the main reason why you guys came here. The DeVonta Smith, Quinyon Mitchell one-on-one. We got to set the table, right? Get the forks, get the plates, get the napkins, the tablecloth, sharpen the knives. We're setting the table here. We're going to get right to the crux. We're going to get right to the meat and potatoes of this live stream. So stick with me, okay? You guys are locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to trudge it to the game. Eagles signed former Broncos safety Kaden Sterns. Now, Kaden Sterns, 24 years old, 6'1", 207 pounds. He was drafted in the 5th round, 152nd overall by the Denver Broncos. He was a part of that 2021 draft class. And he ran a 4.4 140-yard dash at the combine in 2021 with a 42-inch vertical. So he's an athlete, he's pretty quick, pretty fast for a safety. And he jumps out the gym. He's pretty athletic. Now, he's entering year 4 of his career. But here's the caveat. Kaden Sterns hasn't played in an NFL game since week 1 of the 2023 season. The reason for that is because he tore his patellar tendon in his left knee. That's a very, very gruesome injury. And since then, the Denver Broncos did cut Sterns last Monday. The Broncos cut Sterns last Monday, and then the Carolina Panthers decided to claim him on waivers. But then they cut him on Thursday after he failed the physical, which begs the question, if the Broncos cut him and then the Panthers cut him because he failed the physical, how the hell did he get through the Philadelphia Eagles physical? Now, as it stands, they don't plan on putting him on the field anytime soon. But still, I am curious how someone who failed the physical for one team was able to make the team of another. And the fact that you signed someone who's recovering from an injury like that means that you think highly of this player. Why do you think highly of this player? He's a Vic Fangio disciple. He's a Vic Fangio draft pick. Kaden Sterns was coached under Vic Fangio and also the DB coach, the Eagles DB coach, Christian Parker, during their time in Denver. And Fangio had this to say about Kaden Sterns upon his signing to the Philadelphia Eagles. Quote, he was a good player. He moved well, had good instincts, good ball skills, and a good feel for the game. We just have to see where he is physically. End quote. Now, to get this player on the roster, they did cut the linebacker that they signed a few days ago or last week, Shaquille Quarterman from the Jaguars. Remember we talked about him? They cut Quarterman right away. Quarterman didn't even play he barely even played in the preseason game. I think he had like 2 special team snaps or whatever it may be. But Quarterman got cut, so Kaden Sterns can make this roster. From a statistical standpoint, Kaden Sterns played in a total of 21 games with 5 starts over the last 3 seasons, 4 interceptions, 9 pass deflections, 2 sacks, 49 tackles. So we'll see what he can provide for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles definitely need safety help in terms of depth. They're lacking that right now, especially with the injuries they're dealing with. CJ, Mekhi Gardner, Cooper DeJean, if you want to include him in that category because he's versatile. Sidney Brown, right? Reed Blankenship is sometimes in and out of the lineup. So we have to take that into consideration why they would sign a player like that. And that's pretty much it on that. Now, you guys know when I bring guests, I bring them on properly. And I would be remiss if I didn't give this guest his just due. This brother was the former associate editor for the newspaper media group. Then he transitioned to Coach and Player magazine as a contributing editor and then became the deputy editor-in-chief and reporter. Talk about elevating your game. And now he writes for NJ Advanced Media. You know it as NJ.com. He covers not only your Philadelphia Eagles, but now he's been given the opportunity to expand his horizons. He covers not only your Philadelphia Eagles, he also covers the enemy. He covers the New York Giants, and he also covers the New York Jets. Again, man, this brother does great work. He also hosts the Talk Is Cheap podcast, which gives perspectives on the NFC East and the Giants. And he also hosts the No Huddle Show. He's also a member of the Pro Football Writers Association. This brother has his credentials. He can get in any building. None other, I give you then, the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Franklin. Sir, how are you feeling? Oh, I can't hear you, Chris. I can't hear you. You're muted, man. You're muted. Oh, Chris, I can't hear you, brother. I can't hear you. Now you're muted. Oh man, you guys, let's see if we can get Chris up real quick. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can do this.
Hear me now?
Yes, brother. Yes.
All right, cool. We just take these out. Like I said, I gotta take that recording and I gotta make that my alarm clock, man. That was a pump up. I like that, man. Thanks.
Listen. You work hard, brother. You work hard, and I've seen the work you put in. I read your work at nj.com, and I first made your acquaintance as the producer for Birds 365. You will always come on as a regular guest, and I always enjoyed listening to you speak. I loved your perspective. I loved your energy and your enthusiasm, and you always made yourself available to me whenever we were able to communicate. So I had to bring you on. This is my platform here. I've been building this for quite some time, and we're trending in the right direction. And I want to bring on some heavy hitters, and that's what I consider you, my friend.
I appreciate it. Seriously. Thank you very much, man. Y'all, this whole week, man, y'all been getting a young thug want to be thug about to tear up, man. Y'all killing me with this. But no, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Definitely. So, let's just get right into it, man. The Philadelphia Eagles, they've had an eventful offseason, a lot of signings, a lot of money spent, a lot of investment, especially in the draft. We've had highs, we've had dramatic lows. But I want to ask you about something that happened yesterday at training camp. The story of the weekend. DeVonta Smith and Quinyon Mitchell, they had a nice little powwow, and I mean that in the positive way, right? I know since you're a general reporter now, you're not able to go to every single Eagles practice anymore. And again, you're elevating your game here. But, when you think about the Quinyon Mitchell and DeVonta Smith dynamic and just how iron sharpens iron, just give me your perspective on that matchup and give me your overall take on Quinyon Mitchell right now as a rookie.
I was lucky enough to be there yesterday to see that. And the fact that they even had one-on-ones. And I wish they allowed us to video it, because if we videoed it, some of those battles were you like it because you're just in that confined space, one-on-one and man-to-man. I'm going to take your heart. I'm going to try to take your heart. And you saw that when there were two of them were battling each other out. And we know the route technician that DeVonta Smith was. The fact that Quinyon is able to match that, I think, bodes very well, because to me, DeVonta is one of the top 12, probably in my list, number 10 of wide receivers in this game. For him to be able to do that and not – because initially there was a couple times he got beat initially off the line. But the fact that he was able to compose himself, get back into a position and make a play, or he locked him up so much that he really had no room to throw. You're looking at this like, how did this guy fall all the way down to the Eagles? I know a lot of teams had a lot of offensive stuff, but I'm looking at him right now, and yeah, there's no doubt about it. He's going to be starting next year, probably opposite Slay, or probably Slay's spot because the way Slay's contract's done. But overall, I like what we've seen so far from him. I like the way he's got that competitive juices, and you need that for a cornerback, especially you need a quick memory in case you do get beat eventually. So he's in a good spot right now.
And it's interesting, right? The kid coming out of Toledo, a school that, not really known or respected, I guess, for their football program, yet he stays there, to lean in even closer to the people that believed in him from the beginning. A guy that talented, he had his pick of the litter for any program he wanted, and he stayed there. Right, that speaks a lot to his character, speaks a lot to how he views the game, and just sticking with the people who developed you to get to where you are now. And right now, he's with Vic Fangio, right? He's with Christian Parker, the DB coach, and we've heard nothing but great things about Quinyon. They've been working him on the outside, and now they've kind of dedicated their time to him being in the nickel. When you heard about them really focusing his workload in the nickel spot, and obviously Keely Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers, they're competing directly for that CB2 role. What was your thought process?
I was surprised, especially, I think it was a domino effect, because initially when we spoke to Vic the first time, he's like, he wanted Quinyon to focus specifically on the outside. Cooper's going to move to the inside. Well, Cooper got hurt, couldn't really participate. So now you're looking around like, okay, who do you use as a potential dime or nickel? And all of a sudden Quinyon's like, you know what? I think it's more necessity out of anything, because you've seen more and more of DeVonta playing safety a little bit more, so playing Nick a little both roles. So once they threw him in there, it's like, all right, let me see how this guy works in space, because I'd probably say the three toughest positions to play in this defense: safety, because you got so much to do; linebacker, because this is the inherent nature of the position; and nickel corner, because you got to work with the linebackers, you got the safeties, and you need to get all that terminology down, that man-to-man principles. And he's done well with it. And we know as we talked earlier, when it comes to the man-to-man coverage and covering DeVonta Smith, we knew that's a key part underneath in Fangio's scheme, because they have to match up and do all those things with it. So when you look at the way he's able to do that and still get the right assignments, to know when you're dealing with those bunches, to deal with that one, that's way further along than I thought he would be, to the point now where when DeJean does come back, where do you put him? It's tough to figure out. Do you let go of Vontae because he does but you see he's got positional flexibility. You're going to use that. There's so many different things that it's putting this team in a tough position just because of the way he's playing right now. It's a good spot to be in compared to last year, especially.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen the Philadelphia Eagles have good problems, right? This is something that's very unique. They've never has there ever been a time, because you covered the Eagles for a while, has there ever been a deeper cornerback room that you've seen with the Philadelphia Eagles? Because I can't remember one.
The last one, I wasn't even covering them. I was in high school when this was happening. It was 2000. It was 2001. I want to say no, actually 2002. Because you had Lito, you had the old school group of Bobby Taylor and Troy Vincent. You still have D-Dog there as a safety, and then you had Sheldon, Lito, and Sheldon coming in too. It was 2003, one of those years. But
because they got those guys in the same draft. It was kind of similar to Quinyon and DeJean.
Yep, you had both those guys, and you had Michael Lewis, who eventually made a Pro Bowl. Where Sheldon is like, why did he was the only one in the secondary, and 1 year didn't make it. He was like, folded up Reggie. He took it out on Reggie Bush. We know that. But you look at everything, it's like, wow, this is like you see this in this draft has the potential. Like literally, there's only one player in this draft that you really look at like, you got questions about. Everybody's really contributed or has made some mark at one point or another in this camp. So it's a good spot for them to be.
Yeah, I want to go back to that preseason game, right? It was first of all, it was entertaining, especially the last few minutes, right? Jake Elliott, he took our heart, gave it back to us, took it again, and then thanks to Patrick Johnson, he was able to give it back to us. What were some of your biggest takeaways from that preseason game, in particular on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, first off, I remember somebody said the T word for tie, and I was like, "Oh, don't do this to us, please don't do this," because this is preseason, and there was no overtime. But I was like, come on, don't put us in this position. Anywho, defensively, when you look at it, I thought the edge rushers did decent. They did better than what I thought they did. I still want to see more out of Bryce Huff. He only played those few, like 5 snaps, I believe it was. So you don't truly get to see a true sense of his ability to play the run, to consistently get a pass rush. I wanted to see that a little bit more in there. I look at the linebacker core, and I thought the second-tier group of Nakobe Dean and Jeremiah Trotter outplayed Zach Bond and Devin White, because I got really concerned. We were talking about how tough it is playing down underneath during that when they let Ravens run. His name escapes me. The Ravens running back escape. There's a coverage breakdown for sure, and that's been one of their guys going to the flat, left him open. And that comes with time, still that. But I love the way Jeremiah Trotter Jr. played. I still want to see coverage wise. I think he's better, and I think Nakobe did well. Considering the fact what happened, he needs to do well in coverage. So I think you a little bit deeper than what you initially thought you were at the off the ball linebacker spot, but there's still questions in terms of that. And then the fact that we look at Patrick Johnson, I think is key because he's on the edge. Like, and I don't mean that like fairly like a punt on that one, but you look at that and you look at what they have. Jalix Hunt, they drafted him. He's not going anywhere. You got Huff, Graham, Sweat. Yeah,
Hunt looked really comfortable in coverage. He looked all right. You saw his athleticism shine a bit. It was cool.
Yeah. It was good in that one. So I'm like, what is going on with this? So these guys really surprised you in the point. It was a limited time, but you saw elements of this team, this defense. It's good. Now it's the mostly vanilla stuff. There's some stuff in practice where you see, I don't want to give them away, but there's been elements of practice where you're looking like, okay, you can see why they're building this way. You can see why this guy is doing this way. It's building more and more and more on there. And I trust Vic more than I thought like, okay, Vic does that. The reason why I think this defense is going to work this year as opposed to the level we saw last year is just not everybody wants to do the Fangio scheme, but nobody wants to evolve it. And Vic has evolved it. He knows it inside out. He'll make the change. Everybody just goes, oh, we saw Vic do this. Okay, we're going to just put this here. This is going to work. They've seen it already. So I look at that. I think you have a better option at. So I look at the way the guys played in preseason and putting that to what Vic's been doing on the field and practices. I think I feel a little comfortable about them.
What about the offensive side? What were some of your observations in that game from that side of the ball?
Will Shipley is playing himself more and more into getting more touches than Boston Scott did last year. I look at his game, and I just think you can't. There's no way, and we know Kellen Moore. He loves to use 2-back sets. Doesn't do a lot. Like he doesn't do it. He still does 11 personnel a lot. There's a lot. if you have Saquon Barkley and Kenneth Gainwell or Will Shipley after he plays well, I thought that was you can do a lot of stuff. I like the way he even the one element of his game that when unnoticed, not a lot of people are talking about is his ability to pass block. And even though there was on that play where they sacked, they blitzed the two guys in the middle. He held his own with the one guy in it. He did the right thing going the inside guy. He couldn't get both of those guys. I played him the guard on that. And it's been changed a little bit. But I look at the way his pass blocking, and that's the way you get on the field. I think that's why you saw when you look at DeAndre Swift last year, that was issues. They took him off and put Kenneth Gainwell on because they had questions about his pass blocking. Hence, that's why I like what I saw Will Shipley on there. Wide receiver wise, I got questions about the depth after 4. Now, granted, we know AJ, we know DeVonta. Johnny Wilson, can he do it? Yeah, he's like having a second tight end on a field at all times. You do that, but you don't want him to be a tell in the fact that, okay, he's on the field, here comes a wide receiver screen, or here comes the ball run play. You don't want to do that one. So I think he needs to consistently catch the ball. And then so I dropped. I was like, that's the one thing I want him. He needs to consistently catch the ball. But other than that, Britton Nakobe, I think, plays well within that confines. But once again, he has to play consistently and do that too. So I think somebody needs to come up from that third wide receiver. So I think that one too. And offensive line wise, Darren Kennard. I want to know where this all camp. He did not show.
I like that guy. I like Darren Kennard. They had him playing the whole game, Chris. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't see it coming either. I thought they were okay. They were mixing around, maybe move Fred Johnson to the right tackle, play some other guys stuff. But the fact that he played it like I'm not gonna say anything, like for most of camp, he was getting beat a lot. And then see him on the field, like and in a game action, and act like he was like trying to do his own Lane Johnson impersonation. Like, all right, you got depth thing. And you look now, Becton's you need somebody, because if Becton really does start at the right guard spot, I mean, Steen can play tackle, but that's his natural position. But if you get another guy like Kennard, because I put pressure on Fred Johnson. I like Fred Johnson. I think he can play both sides. I think he still stays on the team as well too. But you got options. That's the big thing I got to commend the front office for. They're deeper than what we've seen. They're as deep as 2022. They're deeper than we were last year for sure. So I feel a lot more comfortable with that. But Kennard, good job by him.
Yeah, it speaks to their elevation in evaluation, right? It seems like their player evaluation this year is much better than it was the previous season. Now, could that be because you have more experience, a more experienced staff in the building, right? They pretty much overhauled that staff, right? You bring in Kellen Moore, you bring in Vic Fangio, you bring in Clint Hurt, you bring in Christian Parker. Obviously, Stoutland U is going to always hold true. They pretty much kind of revamped that whole staff. And now we're starting to see this team just looks deeper. They look really deep at running back. They look deep. They're deeper at corner. The offensive line. I mean, this is a very favorable position for them to be in. Let me ask you this though. We've lightly touched on so many various position battles, right? The wide receiver 3, Steen and Mekhi Becton at right guard, the linebacker with Dean, Trotter, and White and Bond, and then the DBs, right? Based off of the observations you mentioned, who do you believe elevated their stock through that first preseason game, and who do you think decreased their stock due to their performance?
I think Trotter Jr. definitely increased his stock for sure. And I think we saw that yesterday. He got a couple snaps with the ones, and it's happened over camp, but I think it's a little like 2 or 3 more than normal is. I think he truly did increase his stock. Decrease his stock, I'd probably say Bond. Actually, no, I'd probably say White just a bit, because in the coverage, that's in the will. That's his main thing. Like even though like the middle linebacker, he mostly runs the deep area but the will is supposed to be the most athletic guy that's going to flow to the ball, and that's what you want to see. And that first series, we saw they did it when it counted in the goal line stand, when they stopped it at the goal line, it counted. But in terms of when it came to coverage, I think White was the one who took a back seat in terms of that. I mean, offensively, I look at when he comes to the offensive because he's a guard. I thought Steen held his own. He did that. I thought, especially on a bad ankle, and he gutted it out. That one block, he was trying to get somebody on one leg. I'm like,
he sealed someone. He had one block where he sealed them off and created this huge lane for the running back. Only thing I would say about Steen is, the penalties. You got to tighten that up. You can have you can have 10 great reps, and that one penalty can lose you the game or kill the drive. So. Other than that, I think that's something I would just require Steen to clean up. But I think he played solid overall.
Yeah, and it's like I remember that play too, because he almost looked like he was trying to do a pick and roll. He rolled and then blocked the guy out with his back, and it was a lane. like a clear lane that back was able to go through. So I see that. Yeah, that's the one thing in camp they need to do. Yesterday's practice, there's a few pre-snap penalties that were unnecessary. I mean, you had Mailata getting one, you had Josh Sweat getting one. So, and funny, it's the same side. They're trying to go toe to toe with them. But yeah, that's the one thing I think this team really truly needs to clean up. Especially you get the first couple days in camp. All right, you get there, everybody's tired, not used to it. They're jumping off sides or they're jumping the snap. But to have that happen after you're one game in, you're still having it in those formations issues where guys not lined up properly or they're jumping off sides or false starts, it needs to be cleaned up. And I think that'll be an emphasis to see, especially in these joint practices coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any favorites? Some early favorites for guys who are going to make the roster, maybe some underrated or some dark horse guys that people aren't talking about so much.
I'll start with this one, and we mainly talk about him in another position. I'm comfortable enough to go on a limb that I feel confident Bradbury's going to be on this roster,
really,
as a safety. Vic, and the one thing I really like about Vic Fangio is he doesn't BS people. He's pretty much like one of the. He's at grandpa at that point. You're like, he's an uncle that goes like, I don't care what I say. I'm just going to play bluntly and just say that way too. That he I quote, pretty damn good was what he explained how Bradbury was.
Okay.
And it's to the point where I think he makes the roster or he's traded and they get something of value for him. But if nobody wants to trade for him, I can see him remaining on this roster. He's doing that well. I think another guy that has done really well, looking at that potentially make a roster that maybe under the radar. I still like what I see out of Gabe Hall, the defensive tackle of Baylor. Anything flashy? No, but that's what you don't. He's not going to get you that push in the middle. I thought I would see a little bit more pass rush, but I like what he's given to you in terms of the run defense, and he's forcing two guys to take a couple people. So he's another guy I like as well. I would have said Tyler Hall for most of camp, but I didn't think he had. We saw what happened toward the end there. I didn't think he had a good game at all, too. But the other guy, see, it's tough. It's more of a special teams play in terms of that. Is Zach McPherson? You see Zach McPherson. He does really well. And if you look back on one of the punts, I think it was the third quarter, where he and Joe basically railroaded the gunner all the way out to the thing, all the way to the sideline, 5 yards back. And they're just basically stalking him. He's allowed to let him in, stalking him as well too, and finally getting that way too, like on those punt returns. I like the way you see that, and as much depth they have at cornerback, you're going to need guys that are good enough to play special teams. And I think that's a way. McPherson's a guy that sneaks in like number 53, number 52, and plays in games because of that special teams acumen. They do that too. I think he's doing all right that way. I think he's a decent job in coverage in the defensive end as well too. So those are guys I'd probably watch and say those are three guys. I'm like, you know what? I'm stock's really high enough that they could potentially sneak in to make the roster.
Chris, I don't know if it's me, but when I was watching that preseason game, the Philadelphia Eagles just looked tougher than they have in the past. They looked more physical. They looked like they were flying to the ball. It just seemed like there was this energy or this sense of urgency about them, all the way down to the third string guys, the guys that probably won't even make this team. There was just top to bottom a sense of urgency and toughness that I guess I didn't feel in a while. Right? Am I off in that observation?
Not at all. No, I'm talking to a couple of players and a couple of people in an organization. That was one of the main things that the leaders of this team wanted to make sure it didn't happen because they figured that some of the toughness was lacking toward the end of the season, and they're able that swagger and their confidence, that stuff that you hear that was so successful in 2022 really led to them. They didn't see as much of that in 2023. And you look at that. That's why I think that's one of the main reasons why you saw CJ come back, because not only is this for his play on the field, but installing that mindset and trying to get these guys hyped up enough to make sure they're trying to be physical and impose their will on there. Because when you look at this team, it's not that hard. It's not their game plan is not that hard. Score, get up, get all those special points, get up early, and then use your defense to impose their will on you in the pass rush and stop it right. That's what they pretty much do. It sounds simple. It's hard to do, but it sounds simple enough. So I think when the leaders know that, they're trying to make sure these guys know that, especially for those guys in the third team always have to do that no matter what, because they're fighting for jobs and you need to see that. But for the fact that for those quasi starters, the guys like Nolan Smith to still be out there, still trying to throw his shoulder around, for all second teamers as well too, I thought that was really encouraging to see that. And so I think that's going to be element when, I mean, you start asking around, like you start asking coaches, like, what's your identity in this team? I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the first words that's going to be you'll start to hear during the first 2 weeks when everybody's like, what's your identity? What's your identity? Toughness, physicality is going to be a couple of those things that you will start to hear.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're starting to take on Vic Fangio's personality, like that no nonsense approach. And Vic Fangio, his press conferences are always enlightening for me because I'm not used to a guy being that honest, right? He's very candid in how he see things. He's very matter of fact. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't really pull any punches. He's not going to dog his guys, but at the same time, he's going to let them know, yeah, that was a good play, but that wasn't really what we wanted him to do at that time. He's just an honest guy, right? Give me your overall spin on just what Vic Fangio's presence has done for this, not just the defense, but the organization.
I think that honestly, and that's the thing too. I want to see how the young guys do it because, he comes from one generation, and it's a different generation. Like, you take that stuff, and the fact that they bought in and he's really acclimated. That's why I want to see like what happens when his team gets a stretch, because I don't see when you hear all the Dolphins players going like, "Well, this is not what he did. He's saying this. He didn't connect."
It's Miami, Chris. It's Miami. They're posh, sands and beaches, and Sunset Beach. It's not the same as Philly where it's cold, where it's rain, sleet, and snow. It's not the same.
I was hurting too much to go on my yacht, and he yelled at me, so I need to go off to 5 miles off the coast to clear my mind. Yeah, that stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I like it. I mean, he's working on it too. And I thought it was a funny little anecdote that Jalen Carter threw when we were talking to him about saying Vic. He say Vic was funny. He's getting after it. He even knows the pause game now. If you guys know, I don't know if it did, but the pause game, that he knows it. He's finally starting to get it. He's trying to acclimate himself and getting used to that. It's like he's trying. So you'll see. So those reports we hear out of Miami and what you're seeing now, it's a good first step. Now let's see if they start 2-4, 2-5. I don't see them doing it, but if they start 2-4, 2-5, how much of that does that approach start to wear on guys? And I don't think it is. His coaches speak highly of him. All the guys, there's a reason why he's stuck with the same guys. They all can take it. A, B, they're used to it. C, he's honest with them as well too. So he's gruff. This is his last stop. We all know his last stop. So it's one of those things where you're looking like, he doesn't care like what he says or anything else. He's done accomplished a lot. So the fact that he's there and you have that tactician mindset and he can do what his thing and he's related to the guys and they like him so far, I think that bodes well for him.
It's interesting. You lose a guy like Fletcher Cox, you lose a guy like Jason Kelsey, you lose that leadership, right? You lose Hassan Reddick. All those guys brought leadership and toughness to their respective positions, right? And we speak about how these young guys, right? They've really leaned into what Vic Fangio has been selling. You've had new leaders step up and really assume the position. To me, it seems like these young guys, like especially this draft class we brought in, and some of the guys from last year as well. It just seems like these young guys, like the Ringos, the Jalen Hunts, the Nolan Smiths, the Jeremiah Trout, all those young guys they brought in, the Quinyon Mitchell. It seems like they brought a new energy to this organization that the OGs have no choice but to lean in towards.
It is. A lot of those guys, a lot of those guys were Red Star guys, the ones the designation that the scouts gave for a guy like guys who epitomize being an Eagle or all the traits they were looking at. You mentioned there as well too. And you look at this over time, a lot of these guys were captains. I think when I counted, there was over I want to say 35. I did a story. There's like 30, 35, 36 former captains on their team. At some point, they're a captain at some point in college. So they know that leadership bounds. When they know what it takes to win, they know what it takes to do that stuff. So when you have guys like that are in those situations, there's no panic. They all need that. Now everybody can be a leader, so you need to have the character guys, which is big in this team. You need character guys that be willing to listen and go from that. So you look at that, and the older guys, they listen to there. There's a concerted effort to have the older guy started last year, guys like BG, guys like Fletch, and even Lane to this point, he's on there as well. He's helping out as well too, to try to pass the torch over there. So that's why when the official leadership group is assembled, when you hear what he said, it's going to be a mixture of young and old. So you'll see guys like Hurts, quarterback. You need him in there, obviously. But then you see the older guys, that's what we all know. And then you see a lot of these younger guys that I would be surprised, like Jordan Davis. Everybody talks about how he is one of the leaders. You got him, Milton Williams, even though he doesn't lead by vocal leader, he's the eldest guy in the position right now. So you see, I don't know if he's going to be in the leadership council, but you got guys like that can help out in their voice. But Jordan Davis should be on there. And you look at CJ should be on there because the way he's doing that. And you see this, it's a good mixture that they have, and you need that. All the successful teams have that transition period in case something like that happened where you lose Fletch and Kelsey. So they're building on that, but a lot of it goes to digging back to college and checking those characters, make sure to be able to do it in the pros.
You mentioned Milton Williams. He's in a unique situation this year for himself. He's entering the 4th year of his rookie contract year. Obviously, he wasn't a first-round pick, so he doesn't have that 5th-year option. Give me your spin on Milton Williams' future with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, before you do so, we know the Philadelphia Eagles, they're prone to do business early. They're prone to get guys money out the way and just take care of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
While you give me your spin on the Milton Williams situation and the kind of season he's looking towards, think about this aspect as well. Is it fair to say the Philadelphia Eagles made him an offer, but he said, "Nah, I'm going to bet on myself this season. I got a strong feeling this is going to be a good year for me."
I reached out to someone in the organization, like sources, is mum on that. It's a fact, like it's one of the, and that can go on. It's tough because it's always tough to read that team because whenever you try to, it's either like, okay, something's working, and they don't like with the guys, the agents and stuff like that. They like both sides are really quiet on that, really quiet right now. So there's a chance it can happen, but they really need to do it sooner than later because when you look at the potential edge rusher, interior linemen that are going to be available, and it's funny because I still think about that day that he was drafted with him. When there was the argument, Roseman was like, okay, I want Milton Williams, and then like we should get Aleem McNeil to move trade to get Aleem McNeil. Tom Donahoe said, Tom Donahoe, I forget who his name was. We wanted Aleem McNeil in that fight, and they were like, and you saw how he get the fist pump was like that. Well, they both were been really good. They're both going to be free agents next year. And if BJ Hill, Cincinnati Bengals, BJ Hill is going to be a free agent, Aleem McNeil for the Lions. If one of those two go, if you're looking for a young defensive tackle, you can sign to a long-term deal, he's pretty much next in line.
And they're getting big money now. Those DTs getting wide receiver money now, Chris.
Yep. It's crazy. And the fact you have a guy who can play, who's going to be playing who's 6 snaps at nose tackle, who can play on the edge, and who's really, when they go to that 5-man line, he can rack up some sacks. Excuse me, I can't speak. Because if Jordan Davis does his job and gets double teamed, Jalen Carter, you know the attention he's going to get. If you get Josh Sweat on that right side doing his thing, and if Huff lives up to what he's being, you're going to spread. It's like one of those Chinese finger traps. You're going to stretch the thing so wide, and all of a sudden you got nothing. And all of a sudden you got him 1-on-1 and his quickness. If he gets like 5-6 sacks, he might price himself out for being able to resign. It's that tough because he's that good. He's a very underrated player for what he's able to do. It's just when you look at this team, when you look at Fletch, like they've just been deep. Fletch, Jordan Davis, you know how they use first round pick on him. Jalen Carter, we see what he's ascending to. He's always been. He's been consistent. He's been working hard. He brings a lot to the table in terms of physical prowess, in terms of his quick. It's just he adds a lot to a defensive line. And I want to see him back here. It's going to be tough. Unless we know Howie's ability to work these contracts. So hopefully they get to it that way, and hopefully it's mutual. It's like, hey, you know what? We'll stay. Okay, we'll stay. But if not, he can get paid. I mean, who knows? If McNeil signs elsewhere in Cincinnati, we know how they can tend to be. They've done better because they signed Burrow, but how sometimes they're like, yeah, we don't want to pay
Chris. What is it? What is that? Paul Brown? Is that the Brown family?
Yeah, they're Mr. Oh, when the Browns walk down and see all the other birds yell cheap, cheap, cheap. Yeah, that's them.
that wallet has Velcro on it, Chris. Velcro. And you know, Velcro, it stays sticky in no matter what weather condition.
Yep. Well, you know, another guy, you also have to look at a Fangio disciple. So all these guys, there's so many of them out there. Maybe the Jets, how much money they spend on the defensive side. That's the last place you want to see him go to. But yeah, him and Hassan, well, if Hassan goes that way, which I doubt, but yeah, he goes back up there. He's a tough, so he's going to have his options, and he can like a lot of money, a lot.
Let me ask you this, right? Milton Williams, young guy, looking to get paid. That DT room, you lose Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. They're your 1A, 1B, or your 1-2 punch, so to speak. You have Marlon T, Moro Jomo. There's a lot of pressure mounting on that DT position, right? Give me your perspective on just how much pressure they're under entering this season.
So much so that I don't know if it's a given that Tui Pelotu is automatic. I think he does well, but they're just that deep. You look at Mario Jomo. I mean, he's almost like the forgotten guy because he's just like Williams. He can play DT, tackle, defensive end. He's actually had a decent camp so far. So I look at him as it's another guy who, if they decide to move up for Williams, he's the guy that moves up to that part. But reserve wise, you need somebody to play the backup nose for sure. Because unfortunately, when you look at Jordan Davis, you hope his conditioning goes. But if not, you need somebody to be able to step in there. Because you can't play 35, 40, 45 snaps of defense. You just can't do it. And you need somebody who's effective enough to still let Jalen Carter be his thing and not be dealt with team all the time. So that's why I look at Tuipulotu is more of the backup nose, but Hall, Mustipher, it's like Hall, I think, is done a little bit better job at that. So they're deep in there. It's going to be tough. You maybe slide one of those guys on the practice squad, maybe two, but it's still something that's really tough. It's a good problem to have where they can rotate and you need these guys to be versatile depending on the fronts they want to use, depending on the opponent.
In order for Vic Fangio's defense to function the way it's supposed to, I want you to give me the most important person on this defense. In order for this defense to do its job, in order for this defense to function the way it's supposed to, who has to do their job? Who cannot have a bad season?
Jordan Davis. He's the most important person on that defense.
Break it down for me.
We're there. Okay, here you go. When you have him, he's the vacuum. He is the gravity of that whole defense. Because if he gets blocked, like on that run play where they gave up in the middle, if he gets blocked by one person, you see what happened. Those linebackers, it's not like the old days where they had those 6'3", 245. Where's my neck roll? I'm going to go in. They just don't have that. So you need him to eat up 2 blocks to keep those linebackers free. You need him to eat 2 blocks so that Jalen Carter doesn't go that way too. And then you need him to, and it shortens the distance for the edge rushers. They just go down. It's a quicker angle to get to them. And if none of that happens, if you single him up, you get Jalen Carter out. Now all of a sudden you look at your pass rush, you're not getting as effective. They're not able to get to the quarterback, and then you're back to where you were last year because it doesn't matter how good the secondary is improved. If you don't have a pass rush, having to cover 4, 5, 6 seconds is just going to pick you apart. So that's where you have those issues, and that's where you need to. That's why I say he's the most important. Second one, close second is Bryce Huff, because if he doesn't play well enough and get that pressure outside, the offensive line is just going. The lines are just going to slide to the left, or and try to go and get at Carter more. Because what they tried to do last year is they put Carter on the right side more and Hassan Reddick on the left, so you can't slide the line either way because you got to worry about what's going that way too. All of a sudden, Huff's not a factor. All right, we know who the person you got to worry about. So now you not only just take out Carter, you effectively take out Josh Sweat from the blind side, and all of a sudden now you're like, oh great, here we go, in trouble. So Davis is one, but Huff is a very close second behind there.
Let's take it a step further. Let's say Jordan Davis does his job this season the way he's supposed to. Who benefits the most?
See, Jalen Carter's the cop out. I could say Jalen Carter because he's going to be that great. I think I think I'm calling it now. He's going to be second team All Pro this year. I really think he's going to be that good on that. So that one.
Wow.
The guy who I see is whoever plays that will. Most likely right now, Devin White. I think he's the one that's going to benefit the most, because we know when Devin White is doing his thing, when he's playing his assigned role, when he knows his assignment, when he can flow around, he can be disruptive, very disruptive. He can get in there. He can be the guy that you see like easily have 100 tackles, almost like he can be like your TJ Edwards that you're missing. So he's a guy. I look at that and I'm like, all right, cool. He can see that too. And to get him to move around fine, I think he does that too. The other one, I think that could be really good. That could really benefit, if it's not Jordan Davis, is CJ Gardner-Johnson, because the fact
Interesting.
I love this because the fact that we all know how they start out with those 2 high safeties.
Yes.
So the way they rotate around and they use some of that cover 6 stuff and everything else, you can manipulate to the point where Johnson can go closer towards the line of scrimmage, and we know how well he does jumping routes. And you just if you set up the right way in those zones, he can be so disruptive in the run game by flying up. The safeties, that's what I mentioned earlier, safeties have a tough position. They have to fly. They're so far back. They're really reliant on helping out with a run flying up there, but also the pass game as well too, with the rotation. If Gardner-Johnson, he can really have a good year because we got those outside guys now, Slay and Rogers or Keely Ringo. You know how well they can do there. Reed's going to probably be the back guy, the deep guy, no matter what, to let him fly around. And Gardner Johnson can be able to fly right near the line of scrimmage and start watching what develops in there. Use that experience as a nickel corner, and we see what happens when he's done it. 6 interceptions in 2022. Flies to that. So that's why I think, even though it's Jordan Davis and he does a job in there too, he can be the most important guy. He can really turn the tide of this defense.
You know, since you brought up C.J. Gardner Johnson, it made me think about the DB room. And I know we briefly talked about Isaiah Rodgers and Keely Ringo, and both of those players played on Friday against the Ravens. Ringo had more snaps, but I also feel like Ringo jumped off the screen more. And what I mean by that is, no, everyone thinks Isaiah Rodgers should be the favorite to win that CB2 role. And my mindset is, I think the jury is still out. The way Keely Ringo was so sticky in coverage, I can't just ignore that and just say, oh yeah, Isaiah Rodgers, he's the guy. I think Ringo's giving him a hard way to go.
I think it was one of those things where they were looking at it and they felt like they had to force it to that side of Ringo because the coverage was good on the other side too. That's how good they both were playing at too. Quarterbacks felt like they couldn't look to the right, like, okay, let's go at Ringo, and Ringo was up to the task. So like, and then you'll see something like that. I thought that bode well because Slay on his side. Teams are probably not to attack Slay as much, so they're going to go at him, Ringo, if they did that. In fact, he did that. It's still good. I still want to see him. The thing I love the most about him is physicality. It's also the same thing I think he needs to reel in at times. That sneaky game of trying to be physical and getting your hands on guys when you're 10, 15 yards down the field. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have that rep yet. So, they're going to fight. Illegal contact. Illegal hands. Like, come on. But he's going to get that. He's done a lot better than last year of keeping his hands in a position where he can get away with it a little bit more and start to rebound that way. That's the only part I want to see him fix with as well, too. I think Isaiah Rodgers gives you a better chance to give you takeaways at the moment. Okay. But when you look at Ringo, if he can do something to the point where he gets an interception off of that, or he plays not only just plays to break up the passes, to put the safe route, but he's able to not only to create turnovers in that aspect, then I think it's a lock that he gets it. But it's an extremely close race, and I love Fangio's words of, yeah, you'll see literally like 2-3 weeks into it, these guys know, right? You don't know this time. This word. You don't know who's going to win that competition, but it's extremely, extremely close.
Okay. Chris, I'm so grateful for the time you've been giving me thus far, man. I'm really enjoying this conversation here. The last thing I want to do is abuse your time, my friend. I do got a few more for you if you don't mind. Yeah. When that line, just circling back to that linebacker position, right? We saw how well Trotter Jr. played and Nakobe Dean played in comparison to Zach Bond and Devin White. And obviously Trotter Jr. and Nakobe Dean had a lot more reps to be able to settle in. But let me ask you this question, because a lot of people are saying that come midseason, book it. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is going to be starting over Zach Bond or over somebody, right? Let me ask you this. Is there anybody on that defense side of the ball that you don't project to be a starter in week 1, but they're going to be a starter before the season's over?
Ooh. The only guy I could see the Trotter thing, the only time I think it'll get a quote-unquote start is if they want to do a certain package and the team runs 3 wide receivers, they want to blitz him early. That's how he gets his quote-unquote start. I can see that. That's the only way I can see that. The guy I could see being the starter is maybe Quinyon. And that's a big if. I mean, that has to mean he's played so well. He's looking like Trayvon Diggs out there with an interception count in the slot, and then you're moving everybody else around like that. That's the only one I can see, because I don't see Sidney Brown thinks it's going to take a while to come back. So I don't see him overtaking, say, Blankenship or anything like that. So that's a ways away. Linebacker-wise, maybe Dean. But even then, Vaughn, the way they're using him, the way they're utilizing him with the blitzes and the edge rushing and stuff like that, can't see that. White, same thing. So, yeah, that's the only guy I can really see. Oh, you know what? Talking us through, Nolan Smith. He's the guy I say, okay, if Huff is really not doing his thing in rushing the passer, then I think maybe you see Nolan Smith comes in. If Smith starts to stand out a lot more and Huff has his issues with stopping and run and is not as effective getting to the quarterback, I can maybe see Nolan Smith being the best guy, because every other position is tough.
Chris, hold on. That's $51 million we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Bryce Huff.
Yep.
Are you Are you sure? Because that would, I don't see. That's something that I feel like fans would say, "Oh, Nolan Smith, why he became a starter over?" But at the same time, like, hold on, wait, at what? At the expense of what? At the expense of this guy you spent $51 million on, making $17 million a year. The guy that you proverbially brought in to replace Hassan Reddick. I mean, that guy he's going to replace.
Desperation does a lot of things, and if those DBs have to keep covering for a long time, and we know CJ won't hold his mouth, and you know all these something got to look for, like y'all better make a switch. Y'all better make a switch. So yeah, that's the only one I can see. And if he doesn't do well, and he lets go a few good plays, and he doesn't get that sack total, or he has issues with playing the extra snaps that he's did, like doubling his snaps, maybe that's a change that Vic does, and puts him in a and then they bring Huff in on, say, third downs when it's a passing downs. Maybe bring him in that way. But even then, yeah, he's a nice guy. You see the potential. To me, he's the one on that. He's the biggest question mark on that defensive line. That's me.
Wow, that's fascinating. Just a couple more, Chris. So, I want to transition to the offensive side briefly. I know we spent a lot of time on the defense, but that's mainly because I feel like that's where the real stories are.
Yeah.
This offense is so loaded. I mean, there's maybe one or two angles we can approach, but you know, Saquon Barkley, you bring him in the building, and we know what Saquon Barkley has done in his career. By far, this is the best offensive line that he has ever played on. Might be the best he might ever play on. The Philadelphia Eagles here. Speak on the impact that he's going to provide to that offense. You know, as far as helping Jalen Hurts. And then take it a step further. Who do you think, not named Jalen Hurts, will benefit the most from having Saquon on that offense?
It's almost actually, I can answer the same. It's the questions. The answer is two people.
Okay.
But I can answer them both with it. It's going to be AJ Brown, DeVonta Smith. Because what happened is last year we saw so many teams playing cover 4 or playing 2 deep high safeties because they didn't respect the consistency of the run game. The Eagles were always throwing first down, second down. And so they were playing their safeties back. AJ was going off early, but then you saw made that change. And it's like the Eagles didn't adjust that much and stop the deep passes. Now that you have Saquon Barkley there, you can't play as much too high safety because if you do, Eagles will go, all right, 6-7 yards first down, second and short. So you get opens up the whole entire thing. So they're going to have to play one of those safeties closer to the line of scrimmage. And if you do that, you can't give help. If you want to go, say, okay, we'll have the other safety go over A.J. Brown. DeVonta Smith goes, all right, thanks. One-on-one to him, I'll take it. If you go, oh, wow, I want to roll to DeVonta's side. I want to roll to the side where DeVonta and Dallas Goedert are. All right, thank you very much. A.J.'s like, I'll take this one-on-one. And that's why I think you see, especially when they go, I think you'll see a lot of heavy trips to the right side or trips to one side and A.J. Brown on the backside one-on-one. Because now you got to divert and with Saquon Barkley on the field at the same time, you have to divert so many resources to make sure those 3 receivers are covering that side. If you want to shade a safety, you're going to now the safety who's left by himself is stuck into a quandary. I have to respect the run. I have to watch Saquon because I have to help and support that. But if not, I'm leaving my corner one-on-one with A.J. Brown, and Kellen Moore's used a lot of option routes in the past. So if you do one-on-one and the safety and the corner wants to play press coverage and A.J. Brown one-on-one, he's just going on the outside. If the cornerback plays back, Brown's just getting free yards off of that. And then his ability to run after the catch comes to question. So just having him on the field just changes the whole entire geometry, the whole entire thought process for a defensive coordinator. So much so that I'm like, how do you stop this offense? And you're probably going to blitz more, but if you blitz, you're not going to have the support for you outside. You need the answers. So that's where I think his biggest he helps out that pass game so much just by being on the field.
Last question, Chris. And again, I'm really grateful for your time, my friend. You've really given me a lot to work with. The people are really, the people are really loving your perspective right now. You guys are locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got charged to the game. I'm here with Chris Franklin, sports journalist, sports writer, sports reporter, covering the Philadelphia Eagles, covering the Giants, and covering the New York Jets. Chris, we spoke earlier in the show about the highs and the lows, right? I got to ask you this. Because I spoke to John McMullen about it. Everybody I've had on, I had to pick their brain about this one thing, even though it kills me, but it's still a story here. When that ESPN article dropped, written by Tim McManus and contributed by Jeremy Fowler, when that article dropped, what was your perspective? What was your instant reaction? Just give me how you processed all that information that was given to us.
I thought it was fair. I thought it was one of the things like it gave a better, because you hear rumblings and sometimes you hear people won't confirm the stuff, or it's like, well, I don't know, maybe it happened, or I can't talk about it. I'm like, all right. So you hear rumblings and stuff like that. I thought it was very good in the fact that you got to see the full thing in terms of that they needed a third intermediate, like how I thought it still was a relevant piece only because if something were to happen again, what to look for in terms of that. The fact, like little nuggets, like they had to bring have somebody else there. I don't, whether it was Brian Johnson or what have you, or somebody else to be there between Nick and Jalen when they were talking to try to facilitate and almost act like an intermediary in that aspect. The term, and then the nugget about Wink Martindale of all people having to be the one that he felt comfortable enough. I think that was an indictment. He still talked to Patricia, but anything else. But I think that was an indictment on how much he trusted the defensive minds at the time.
No, I'm sorry, Chris. No one brought it up from that perspective. The fact that you said him reaching out to Wink Martindale, because people always said that him reaching out to Wink Martindale was an indictment on Nick Sirianni not providing answers. But your perspective is no, it's an indictment on that defensive staff not being able to provide answers to Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, because we know Jalen all the time. Back in 2020, I remember it's like even early on, like in Sirianni when he first was hired, that much of he was always going to Gannon. Like he would always on the side, he'd go up to Gannon, they talk a little bit, pick his brain, what you do here and all that stuff, and did that. Same thing. Like the thing was, he had to go to Wink Martindale. You kept saw yourself blitz over time, and the fact he didn't feel comfortable with Patricia or decide that whole situation, you don't know what's going there. So now you have to go to Wink and say, how are you able to blitz so much? If your defensive coordinator, even if you run a different style scheme, they all are versed in what different styles, what have you, what you can do and all stuff. So the fact that he had to go to Wink, why'd you shut me down? How'd you shut me down? How'd you shut this offense down? And you spent 30 minutes and he gave you insight. It didn't, all in all, when it all said and done, didn't really help because we saw the result the following week. Right. But the fact that he trusted him and the fact when Wink was still in his thing going, you can debate if he's still technically a member of the Giants or not, because Wink was doing his thing like, I don't like you, and to Dable and all that stuff. But the fact he called him and tried to pick it apart to do that blitzing, I thought that was an indictment to the defensive staff at that time in terms of the defensive coordinators he talked to. So he's talking to Fangio. And there's another thing. He's talking to Fangio now. He's getting a good thing, and he's familiar with Fangio because he was in the building because Fangio was helping out the offense in 2022. So I think it was I liked the job they did. I thought it was, and I still thought it was relevant. I know some people were like, why are you doing it now? Unfortunately, you still need to watch it because if there's a slip up, at least you now know what to look for. At least you now know to see that. It was an indictment because it is part of history. We saw one of, if not the worst collapse of football ever. And you need to know what had happened because if you repeat history, those old say, repeat. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Now we know what to watch for. Now they know what to watch for. How do you avoid it from happening again? From that,
Chris, what insight as far as the Wink Martindale angle. No, seriously, I mean that because I really did not think about it from that perspective at all. You know, everybody just kept approaching that angle of Wink Martindale. Wow, you don't trust Nick Sirianni to provide you answers to this problem, but not one person that I've heard, at least, I did not hear them mention Sean Desai. And you know, to your point about the relevancy of the article, look, I'll be honest. I'll keep it real with you, Chris. You know, you're my man.
Yeah, you good.
Look, that article broke my heart, man. It broke my heart because I'm like, why now? This is something because again, right? You covered the Eagles, you chronicled this entire thing, and obviously in this new media age, right? You know, we have content creators, we have people who we have more independent platforms, things of that nature. And there are so many people who are dialed into the Eagles even more than ever. To me, at least, everything in that article, excluding the Wink Martindale angle and the fact that Jalen Hurts wanted a more complex offense, those two angles were, in my opinion, worth noting. But everything else felt like regurgitated information that we were either heard, felt, or just seen with our own two eyes.
And sometimes some of the sausage making part of like we're reporting that sometimes it takes a while for a source to actually get back to us and go, okay, you know what? Yeah, I feel comfortable. And not to get too much into it, but sometimes information is traded. Look at some of the things. Some information could be traded sometimes. So it could have been one of those things where information was traded and the timing may happen. I don't know this. I'm not going to speculate. I have no way of saying, you know what, I know this happened or what happened.
No, I got you. I got you. Hey, listen, I feel you.
You've seen that.
I'll protect you, Chris. I got you.
You hear stories about that sometimes in terms of that. So it could have been one of those things where maybe the Source felt better now that the season was over, or maybe they felt strong enough that they can go through it. So that's why it's not. Sometimes it's like the timing is not like, oh, it's his birthday. Drop it now. It's not like this, but sometimes it's just the way it pans out. Sometimes the way it comes together, it happens that way. The other thoughts like, oh man, it was birthday. Hey, I can imagine her just walking to the facility now. Happy birthday, man. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, by the way, there's an article that came out 6 months. We got to talk a little bit. All right.
Everything was going too good, right, Chris? Everything was going too good, man. Chris, you've blessed my channel. You give me a ton of insight here. You give me more insight that I could even ask for. You're forcing me to think about a lot of things differently. And my friend, I'm just grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your energy, my friend. Grateful for the hard work that you do. Covering the Philadelphia Eagles for NJ.com. Just covering the Giants and the NFC East and the Jets. Just covering the overall tri-state. I give a lot of credit to you, my friend. Is there anything that you want to promote here? Anything that you want to let the people know that you're working on? Anything to look out for you right now?
I'm still getting my feet wet in this new role. It's an adjustment, but I'm still getting my feet wet. So
I can imagine.
It's an adjustment. So I'm still working on some stuff. I like nothing as a major. I know I will be at the final preseason game covering the Vikings. Got a couple podcasts doing this week, so I guess I'll plug those. The Talk Sheet recording that tonight with Daryl Slater, the Giants, and then I got with Bob Brookover and Kaden Sterns, the No Huddle show. We're doing that, and that should be coming out some point Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. So we'll have that, and I'll be watching along with everybody else in terms of that preseason game and those joint practices. That should be a lot of fun. I want to miss it, but that's going to be a lot of fun to watch that.
Yeah, it is.
Over under on fights, I'd probably say over under fight 1.5. I'm taking under because I think it's gonna be one big melee, at least one.
Let me ask you this, and I'll let you go, my friend. With the new role, covering a couple more teams here, assuming a few more responsibilities here, and you can either blank once for yes, blank twice for no. Is the scratch worth the itch? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
It has opportunities to be very interesting in terms of getting to see the stuff from the league perspective and to get to see some of these Giants close. Because a lot of times, when it comes to the Giants, I have to read our other coverage. And that one, the Jets, they're an interesting bunch. They can make a Super Bowl run, so they can see that. So I think there are opportunities there in order to do that as well, too. And there's still opportunities with the Eagles as well, too. So grow into this, see how it goes, and go from there.
Okay. All right. I hope they're taking care of my man. That's all I'm saying. That's all. That's all I'm asking. Just listen. Just take care of me. I take care. One team, two more teams. Oh, another show. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure everything is matching. Chris, thank you so much, my friend. You've been tremendous, man. I would love to bring you on again at some point throughout the season to cover the Philadelphia Eagles to get more perspective. How's that sound?
That sounds good. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man.
Chris,
good luck.
Thank you, man. I couldn't be here without you, my friend. I appreciate you. You take care, all right?
You too now. Have a good one now.
All right, man. Shout out to my guy, Chris Franklin, man. It's always fun talking to Chris. Chris is just such a fun personality. Chris is warm, man. I feel safe talking to my man, Chris. So shout out to my man, Chris Franklin. He does great work covering the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Jets, and Giants. His podcast, they're growing and doing well. More responsibilities there at NJ.com. Really grateful for Chris Franklin taking the time out. I made his acquaintance at Burge 365 on the Jacob Sports platform via John McMullen and Jody McDonald. And John doesn't work with slouches, man. And Chris Franklin is definitely not that. Does great work. A great writer. Always has a very interesting perspective, and he gave me a ton of more perspective about your Philadelphia Eagles in terms of the Nick Sirianni and the Jalen Hurts situation, the defense. It's going to be a very fascinating season, you guys. We had to be honest about that. It's going to be a very fascinating season. It's going to be so much to discuss, so much to tap into. I mean, this defense is trending in the right direction. They're playing faster, they're playing harder, they're playing tougher. There's a different ilk with this Philadelphia Eagles team right now. That's just the fact. And Cody K, I know that. I know. I'm talking about during my time there. All right. So yeah, really appreciate all of you guys for being here. You guys have been doing tremendous work supporting the show, supporting my guest. And I can't take that for granted, you guys. You know how we give it up here. I always got to give out the gratitude, you guys. The love is always felt. Make sure you guys smash that like button, man. You guys have been smashing that thing. We have over 100 people on the live stream, only 92 likes. We got to find a way to match that, right? Let's go on the like rampage, you guys. If you haven't hit that like button yet, make sure you smash that like button. We got about 110. We got about 110 people. You're all good, Cody. Cody, you my man. It's all good. It's love, baby. Cody, I love you. It's all good. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Let's go on the rampage, man. 112 people locked in. We got to get to 100 likes before I get out of here. We got to get to 100 likes before I get out of here, man. Please. My livelihood depends on it. But you guys, man, you guys make it a great show. I love how interactive you guys are in the live chat. You guys always provide more insight and give me more to discuss as well, right? So I really appreciate you guys. You know, I wanted to start out Chris and I's conversation with that DeVonta Smith, Quinyon Mitchell angle, because I think Quinyon Mitchell is going to be a force for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Quinyon Mitchell is trending in a tremendous direction. I loved what I saw from him in that preseason game. I love what I've been hearing. His football acumen, his ability to retain the information and to retain the responsibilities has been A1. And we can't take that for granted. You know, it's been a long time since the cornerback room in general has been this stout, right? You know, the cornerback room is deep. The running back room is deep. The offensive line, per usual, is deep. But this offensive line seems deeper this year than they were last year. This team overall seems deeper than they were last year. That's just my overall perspective. And we made it to 102 likes, you guys. Thank you so much. Couldn't have done it without you. You guys know what the vibes are. And, you know, we're going to get out of here. We're going to get out of here, man. I really appreciate the love and support. Oh, and by the way, y'all guys know what to do. Please make sure, if you haven't already, go check out the Chalk It Up Sports merch shop. I got some dope stuff on there for you guys to check out. As you can see, I'm wearing the staple Chalk It Up Sports merchandise, the Apex Jalen Hurts t-shirt, the Apex Predator Jalen Hurts tee. You guys have to make sure you bless yourself with that, okay? Because this thing is growing. A lot of people are buying these things, man. As you can see, I got it in tan, right? And it also comes in black as well. You know, tan, otherwise known as eucalyptus. If you guys tune into the show, you know how we give it up here. If you're wondering, I'm wearing an extra large. I'm 6 feet tall, 6 feet flat. I weigh about 220 pounds, 218 pounds, and I'm wearing an extra large. The style of the tee is oversized fit, right? But if you want something more true to size, then all you got to do is just buy your size or buy maybe a size smaller, whatever it may be. But it's oversized fit, dope merchandise. You guys know I do giveaways here as well. Make sure you guys stay active in every single live stream, right? Because I do giveaways every single week, and I am very, very legit with my giveaways, you guys. I make sure to bless people. Everybody that I've sent stuff to, they've received it. My man Thomas Adams, aka Bold Brew, your gift is on the way. We've been corresponding via email to make sure that you receive your gift. Keisha White received her gift. Jameer Adams received his gift. Mark Johnson received his gift. You feel what I'm saying? We're taking care of the people because you know what? You guys take care of me. You guys invest in me. What kind of slow-mo would I be without investing in the people? You feel what I'm saying? So I really, really got a lot of love for y'all, man. I consider this to be a family here. And I apologize if the Wi-Fi is a little shaky. It's starting to stabilize a little bit. But I really do appreciate you guys for being here. You know, I see a lot of love in the live stream, and you guys have been tremendous. I know I didn't really get a chance to get through a lot of your comments today. And I really, really do apologize for that. You guys know how we give it up here. This is a comment section friendly show. This is a show where we definitely do go through the live chat. And unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to get through that today, but trust and believe, you know how we give it up here. And you guys know where my heart is. So make sure you guys go cop your Apex Predator Jalen Hurts tee. Comes in 2 different colors. I'm wearing I'm wearing an extra large in case you're wondering. So make sure you guys check that out, man. And also make sure you stay tuned every single day, every single time we go live. We're putting out content. We're putting out content 5 to 6 days out of the week. You feel what I'm saying? And this is a one-man army. Now, obviously, I'm supported by, my wife helps with the show, and my father, my brother, my mother. I get a ton of support from my family, a ton of support from you guys, right? But you guys see how I give it up here. This is just me, solo, dolo, no co-host. I have the occasional guest, but this is me just, giving you guys my energy, giving you guys my vibe, my frequency, my vibration. You feel what I'm saying? So this is how we do it here. Make sure you guys go cop yourself an Apex Predator Chalk It Up Sports t-shirt. The link is posted in the live chat. And make sure you guys stay tuned every single day to make sure you have an opportunity to cop some free giveaways from yours truly. So, like I always say, you guys, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the show. Make sure you guys always stay engaged, keep commenting, stay fierce, stay humble, stay healthy, stay hungry. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. I want to say another special thank you to my special guest, Chris Franklin, covering the Philadelphia Eagles in addition to the New York Jets and Giants, but most importantly, covering the Philadelphia Eagles. Chris Franklin, thank you so much. NJ.com. Thank you for offering him a loan. I really do appreciate the time he gave us. Once again, I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. You guys have been locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.